it's Ruby, and today I'm going to be giving you some tips on how to revise for history. These are things that I did last year when I was studying for my Edexcel GCSE, and it was through using these methods that I was able to walk out with 100%, so I didn't drop a single mark. I'm not saying this to show off, but I hope it will demonstrate that these tips really do work. I'm going to start by talking about how to format your notes, and then I will go on to specific revision strategies. So writing notes. Of course this will vary depending on the exam board, but when I was writing my notes, I made sure that they mirrored the essay structure which I would be writing with in the actual exam. For example, a standard question in Edexcel was give 2 key features in the life of somebody. And so in my notes, underneath each key person, I would write down 2 key features, and then I would plant all of my information about the person under one of these 2 headings. I found this to be much better than just writing general notes, just bullet pointing the information, because when you do learn from these notes, you are figuratively learning your essay. So of course one of the key things in any history question is going to be cause and effect. And so I kept this in mind when I was writing my notes. For each of my events, I had the headings Key Facts, in which I included the date and the geographical location, and then I had causes, short-term effects, and long-term effects. I then additionally had subheadings for each of the specific causes and effects. As with before, this meant that I was learning notes which could directly be applied to an essay, and they are also ideal for if somebody is going to be testing you on your notes or if you're going to be testing yourself.
So what were the short-term effects of the Cuban Missile Crisis?
Khrushchev's authority was diminished, the Limited Test Ban Treaty was passed, and a hotline was established between Russia and the US.
Very good. Now can you go into a bit more detail about the Limited Test Ban Treaty?
Well, the treaty was passed in August 1963. I did find testing to be really useful, especially in the early days of revision. But the number one thing which is important for history revision is essay practice. On the lead up to my GCSEs, I was doing 2 history essays a day. And whilst this may sound daunting at first, it actually isn't too bad, because once you get into the swing of it, it becomes a lot easier. And this is something I suggest that you do yourself. The first few are going to be quite tricky, but if you schedule it into your timetable the same time every day, then you're not going to procrastinate with it. It's just going to become a regimented part of your study timetable. And once you start doing frequent essays, they become so much easier. It really doesn't even take that long. You probably put aside 1 hour of your day just to focus on history practice. And you don't even have to do 2 essays, you could do 1. Having done so many essay practices, I was not stressed in the exam, and this meant that I could perform my very best. One thing I do recommend is doing the hardest essay questions that you can. I also suggest when you're first starting out with revision to do essay plans as opposed to full essays. Full essays, when you don't know all of the knowledge specifically, is going to take a lot longer, and it's going to be difficult for you to do them under timed conditions. Essay plans can be really beneficial because they're able to ascertain knowledge and make sure that you actually know what you're going to be talking about. Doing the essay, on the other hand, is more about exam technique. It's really important in a history essay to include specific knowledge, so dates, key people, and statistics. This is able to show off to the examiner that you actually do know what you're talking about. However, I do realise that these can sometimes be quite tricky to learn. So I'm going to be going through these and giving you some tips on how you can learn each one. With statistics, it's important not to overwhelm yourself, but you want to learn a fair number of statistics which can be used in a variety of different essays. This next tip will hopefully help you to decide which facts you are actually going to learn. When I was writing my revision notes, I would make a note of anything that it would be good to have a statistic for. So for example, if I were doing an essay about 1920s communications in America, I might think it pertinent to include exactly how many Americans owned a telephone. So I kept an ongoing list of relevant statistics. It's much better to do this going along than to rely solely on your revision notes, because it ensures that you're not going to learn a fact that is useless or would not actually be relevant in an essay. So looking at your statistic list, if you have way too many when it comes to exam season, then just go through with a pen and cross out the ones which aren't going to be used in that many essays. So next, let's talk about key people. What I would do is write the key person and then underneath bullet point the events that they are most famous for. So for example, if I were doing Kennedy, I might write down Bay of Pigs invasion and the Cuban Missile Crisis. You look at events that you have already studied the causes and effects of, things that could come up in an essay, and if the individual was involved in the event, you just write the event underneath. When you're being tested on this, make sure that you go both ways. So one way that you can be tested is which events was Kennedy involved in, and then you would state them. But the other way that you want to do it is saying Bay of Pigs invasion, and then you having to name the key people who are involved with that. Going both ways means that your brain is going to make stronger links between them. And the third and final thing is dates, which is the thing that history is most famous for. Chronology is one of the most important things for any essay and any history exam. I used a game of sorts to remember mine, and actually it was probably the most enjoyable thing that I had revision-wise. I would do this for about 10 minutes every day, and I actually would look forward to it. So on one side of my flashcard I would write the event, and on the other I would write the date. Then I would have to arrange the cards so that I had all of the events in chronological order, and then I could check it using the other side of the card. Likewise, these flashcards can be used ordinarily to just test yourself on specific dates. Really, there is nothing worse than getting your chronology wrong in an essay, because it greatly reduces how coherent your essay is, and this can drastically affect your grade. So I recommend spending a fair amount of revision time on chronology. So thank you so much for watching. For all those people who do have their history GCSEs this summer, I wish you the best of luck, and I hope that these tips are able to help you to achieve your very best. And remember, I post new videos every Saturday, and stay tuned over the next 2 months for more videos relating to exams, which of course is in honour of exam season. So thank you again, and have a productive week.